entire body of women is the creator of life. I'm sorry.
That's false.
The ass, everything. We create life.
No. Let me correct you. Women bring about life. Men create life. In my nutsack right now, I got 80 billion life forms living in me. Your eggs are dead until a man puts life form in you. Furthermore, you only have an X chromosome. Men hold the X and the Y chromosome. So we also dictate the sex of the baby. So you should be thanking your father for creating you, because your mother only brought you to term, but your father is your creator.
He's a legitimate super genius. I mean, legitimate.
He is 100% wrong in a spiritual and religious sense. But again, I don't know how useful that is if you don't believe in that. But on a purely scientific sense, on a purely physical sense, if you don't believe in that other stuff, he is 100% wrong. 100%. How can your father put life inside of your mother when your mother must have life inside of her in order for it to meet the sperm, in order for the sperm to be able to do anything? Your mother's eggs are not dead. His argument is 100% BS, whether he realizes it or not, whether he's delusional or he's intentionally lying, I don't know. Peter Parker says, how do you feel about this? I mean, you can't deny the facts. I can deny this when there are no facts being presented. Your mother's eggs are not dead. Your mother's eggs are just as alive as your father's. In order for his argument and that pseudoscience to work, a woman essentially, or a woman's eggs must either be dead or non-existent. And if that's the case, your mother is considered barren. There's a reason why even before modern science, a man could have really strong shooting sperm, but if she doesn't give birth, if her belly doesn't get big, well, then a woman prayed because she was barren, which indicates that women had that. Even in cultures before we had microscopes and we could literally physically see eggs in a woman of a woman's body, our ancestors understood that a woman must already have life inside of her that is separate from a man, in order for a man's sperm to do anything. So right off the bat, he is 100% wrong. The eggs are not dead. Again, we're just talking about science here. And for all of you saying in the comments that, well, he's saying that both women and men are needed. He's going against the feminists. He's not. First of all, feminism is good, and unfortunately, we live in a world that for thousands of years and to this day, misogyny is cultural. It is culturally taught that sons are superior to daughters, that sons are where the bloodline of the family comes from and not the daughters. Even though, if not in most African cultures, and many more than you'd think, even if they were classified as patriarchal, more or less, the bloodline of the family was traced to the mother, for various obvious reasons that we'll get to later. And also, God was considered either female and male, or having no sex or gender at all. And again, that's on top of the fact that more African cultures than you think were matrilineal. It was the bloodline of the family was traced to the mothers. But yeah, he wasn't saying that both men and women were needed equally. He was giving most of the credit to men. He was giving all or most of the credit to men. He basically described women, including black women, as just empty sperm containers, cum dumps. Basically beings walking around with dead things inside of them or nothing inside of them at all, just receiving the Jesus juice, the resurrection juice of the man. This is some man's rights, men are gods vanity bullshit, if I've ever heard it. And I hope he sees this video. Again, we're getting to if you're not religious or spiritual, then you don't care about any of this, but you just know that he's wrong in a scientific sense. So he wasn't saying that men and women are needed equally, right? He wasn't saying that. You guys need to have better listening skills in these Twitter comments. Peter Parker, I don't know what you're smoking, but you need to quit. But even if but we'll go on to my next, what I want to say next. Even if he was saying that both men and women were needed equally for human creation, he'd be wrong. Both men and women are equal in all things. You've got the Kandakes of Nubia. You've got the Mino or the Agoji of Dahomey. You've got Harriet Tubman. You've got thousands and hundreds of other individual examples and cultural examples throughout the world, especially the African and African diaspora cultures and histories and civilizations. Okay, African women were landowners. They were strongly associated with the marketplace, making money, being market women. Like we have, like in European civilizations, you had tradesmen. You had tradesmen in Africa and tradeswomen. African women were also farmers. So on top of doing all of this labor and having all of this political power and being able to own the results of their labor, being able to be landowners and property owners and earn and own their own wealth before marriage and even after marriage. The husband had his things, the wife had her own things. And then European Christian colonization and Arab Islamic enslavers kind of messed that up. All this other stuff. On top of doing all of that, doing the majority of the work in human creation. Both men and women are needed to create human life, but the work is not split 50-50. Most of the work, and if you believe in the spirit, the spiritual work as well, is obviously through your mother. You don't spend 8 to 9 months being sculpted and being formed and given shape by your dad. You don't spend 8 to 9 months kicking around inside of your dad. If I was to destroy your mother, you're gone. If I destroy your dad, your mother will be emotionally distraught, but you'll be more or less fine. Your father's life was and is never put in danger during pregnancy. That is your mother. By design, whether you believe in God or the gods or whatever you believe in, even if you don't believe in any of that, on a purely scientific level, your mother has a greater contribution to the creation and through the creation and the origin of human life than the father does. Both men and women are the givers of life, but more so your mother, and I cannot believe I have to say that. That should be obvious. And it was obvious to many African religions and cultures, hence them being matrilineal. And having so many lesser deities that were associated with giving life and sustaining life being female, and then the god and gods themselves, or God themselves, divinities, trinities, etc., all that stuff. What was I going to say? But yeah, that's it. Hopefully, this probably isn't going to go viral because I'm rambling a lot. But yeah, yeah. I feel like, he mentioned and it is true that your father does dictate the sex of the child. That is 100% true. And everything else that I said was also true as well, which is good because back in the day in many cultures, women were punished. Mothers were punished if the child wasn't a boy, as if that was her fault. But again, your mother contributes so much that it literally puts her life on the line. Her body has to transform, and her eggs must be alive and thriving, or else your father's sperm is nothing but boogers. So on the microscopic level to the really big physical level, and even after birth, you're still suckling on your mother in order to live and survive. I don't know what the lady's argument was going to be. I have really no clue, in all honesty, because he cut her off. But I'm going to assume that I can't really assume anything. I don't know what she was trying to say. But if you're trying to say that most or all of the credit goes to men, you are wrong. If you're trying to say that both women and men are the givers of life equally, you're closer to being factually correct, but you're still wrong. Both mothers and fathers are needed for giving life, for being the creators of life, but more so the mothers. It is not split 50-50. It's really like 80, it's like 80-20, but I'm being generous with that. It's really more like 90-10. If I ever become a father, if I ever want to have kids, I will always acknowledge that, just like my African ancestors who weren't Christian, who weren't Islamic, acknowledge that. Not to say that you can't do that in those spaces because, culture and religions get influenced and change over time, but outside of invasion and colonization of non-African sources, the matrilineal of African religions and cultures acknowledged and understood. So the ancestors are yelling at this man right now. And it's considering the history of how women of African descent are treated and have been treated, women of African descent have been mistreated more than men of African descent. And I shouldn't have to explain why that is. I kind of explained it already, but I shouldn't have to explain further. When it comes to that, right? Black men throughout history have been oppressed because we were black, not because we were men. We were invaded, and our history was messed with, and our lands were messed with by people that saw other people as lesser than, based off their race, based off them not being men. We were invaded and terrorized by cultures that regarded men as being superior to women. So black women had to be exploited by cultures that saw them as lesser than because they were black, but also saw them as lesser than because they were female. You know, black men were treated as lesser than in spite of us being surrounded by cultures that promoted men above women. But yeah. Just wanted to say that. Hopefully this video goes viral. Hopefully they see it. Hopefully y'all see it. I'm done. I can't believe I had to make a video like this. Why did 9,000 people like this? Like what Peter Parker? Why did they like? Why did y'all like this? Like, come on. Sorry for the ramble. Out. And you know what? I'm going to say this real quick, but I mentioned it in my African religion paper that there are species of animals where if like the number of males is very low or there are no males because something happened, the females of that animal species have the ability to like asexually reproduce, virgin birth. They can, there's a scientific word for it, I forgot, but they can just start creating and birthing viable offspring by themselves without sperm, without a male. But again, this happens in high stress situations where they cannot find males to have sex and reproduce with. And scientists still don't understand it. They understand what's going on, but they don't understand like why or how it works. But one thing that has to be stated that if that was to be more common, right? If in other animals that we have not, if that scientists have not seen that in, or you were just going off theoretics, it makes sense, right? Because again, the creation between females and males, the contributions of creation between the two are not equal. It is mostly, most of the credit is female. Females have the eggs, and they not only have the, if the man's sperm is a key, then the woman's eggs and her body are the treasure chest and the magical treasure inside of it. Man is the key, but the woman is the treasure chest and the treasure inside of that treasure chest. And for certain species, they're able to just create life. And again, it makes sense because the female body is mostly made for creation and birthing in a way that human male bodies and the bodies of animals, of these male animals, do not have eggs, but they cannot then carry that watered seed. And they can't carry it. They can't do anything with it. They have no body that can carry that. And I say that because I didn't want to mention, but like ethnic groups like the Bemba, which the Bemba, even if you describe the Bemba ethnic group of Africa as being patriarchal, they were matrilineal, matrifocal, and matrilocal. Their supreme god Lesa was considered female and male, even though white Christian patriarchy kind of washed that as a male deity. Lesa is not male. A great example, female and male. But the Lesa symbolized womanhood with many things, including eggs and seeds. Women are the soil and the seed. Men don't put seeds in women. Women's eggs are the seed and the soil. Women are it never made any sense in that European sense to say that a man casts his seed into a woman. A woman isn't just soil. The woman already has seeds. Her eggs are the seeds. So a man is watering. And many African societies, including the Bemba, they likened men's sperm to like rainwater, but they likened a woman's body to being eggs, seeds, soil, river water, things like that. But a man's sperm was like water. So the woman was the holder of the soil and the seed, and the man watered it.